you've got an allotment or a garden, you might find sometimes it can be fairly expensive when you've got to buy new plants and seeds throughout the year. So it makes perfect sense to be as sustainable as you can be, where you can harvest your own seeds and your own plants. In this video, I'm going to show you how to get your own raspberry plants for absolute free. Raspberry plants can be fairly expensive if you go to some retailers, garden centres, etc. So if you can produce your own for nothing, it makes perfect sense. So in the video I show you how to locate the new raspberry plants, how to dig them up and how to repot them if you want to use them somewhere else or give them away. So if you like the video, don't forget to give it the thumbs up, and if you want to see future videos on how to sow and grow fruit and veg and a few recipe ideas, then don't forget to subscribe to the channel. But when you've got an allotment or a garden, there are ways in which you can provide your own plants, because nature has a way of reproducing. These are the main crop here within the borders that I've actually put on the perimeter with the strings. But you'll notice just on the outside that new raspberry plants have started to grow. These are called suckers, and these are where the existing plants will put their roots horizontally and then they will find their way to the surface. You can see some more here and here. All these are new plants, and what I'm going to do today is dig them out and put them in pots. As you can see, I'm going to choose this plant here, which is outside the boundary of where I want my raspberries. It's a perfectly healthy raspberry plant. I mean, you look at I don't know if you can see on the video, but the stem looks, really green, and the leaves are very healthy. There's no sign of any yellowness or brownness on them. And if I left that there, it would grow as a perfectly good raspberry. But the only problem is, as you can see further over, they migrate quite a distance. So if you want a tidy allotment like I've got, and you've got things in certain places, you might want to dig these up. And it does seem such a shame to waste them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to dig them up, put them in pots, and possibly see who else wants them, maybe friends, family, or maybe some other allotmenteers or gardeners that I know. There are two plants here that I'd like to transplant. One here, you can see it's away from the boundary, and another one here. Now, one thing to know about raspberry plants is they're quite shallow rooted, so the roots don't go very deep. But when you're digging them up, what you want to try and do is get as many of the roots as you can with the plant, because it's quite easy to snap the root system off. So you've got to be fairly careful when you're digging them up, and you're always better off using a large fork rather than a hand fork, because you want to go fairly deep with them. So we'll see if we can get them together. If not, we'll separate them out. So put our fork into the ground and push it right the way in, as far as it will go, and then gently just lever the plants up, just to disturb the soil, loosen the soil. Just keeping an eye on the plants so you don't want to break them. Then moving the fork again into the first one, straight through again and again, teasing the raspberry plant. And you can see here that now we're starting to disturb the soil. Now at the moment the root is still attached. You can see here it's attached to this plant here, so we'll take that one as well and move that one with it. Notice that the root is attached, so this would have been the main plant where the new plant has originated from. You can see it's still attached by its root. That's got a decent root system on it already, the main plant, and I can put that back in. But for this new plant, I just want to get the roots, as many as I can, so I can transplant. And what I'll do now is I'll separate that, get a set of secateurs and cut the roots off, and then I'll have a plant. Look at the root system on that. And this one is the original plant, which I'll probably pop back in, or maybe put it into a pot. You don't really want to disturb the original plants, and I'm just doing this for demonstration purposes only. So being gentle, you could have cut the root off, but you need to establish where the root is first in order to get the plant. If you use a small hand fork to do this type of thing, you might not dig deep enough, and what tends to happen, they're quite fragile at this point here, which is at the bottom of the stem, and you can snap it off and then you'll lose your roots. So that's what we're going to do now for all of the suckers that we can find around the perimeter of the raspberry bed. Cut them off with secateurs, and then here we have two plants. So it's took me about 10 minutes to separate what I think is around about 10 raspberry plants. There are more out there which I could dig up and pot, but I brought these into the poly house now. You can see the ones that I've chosen, they've got really good decent root systems on them, So I'll put them in pots. One thing to bear in mind is when you put them in pots is that putting them in pots is temporary until they find a new home. They're not going to grow well in pots, but you're just putting them in there so that you can prolong its life until you find a new home for it. That could be in your own plot or allotment, or it could be giving it away to friends and family. So it just shows you with raspberries, once you have raspberries and they've established for a year or two, there's no need to buy any more plants. You can just dig them up and relocate them where you want them. When you're using pots, try and use fairly deep pots, as deep as you can find. Remember, it is only temporary, they're not going to grow there, it's just that you're just providing enough capacity for the roots to be able to survive for a short period of time. So to pop the raspberry up, as I say, pick a pot that's reasonably deep, because obviously the roots, as you can see, are fairly well established. And this is what I'm going to plant today to show you. So get some multi-purpose compost, just put a little bit in the base, and then what I tend to do is put the plant in and just hold it with one hand in the middle, and then just put the multi-purpose compost around it and just gently firm it as I'm going along. So you can see I'm just putting the multi-purpose compost in, gently firming it into position, and there we have our first raspberry plant that is ready to be watered and to be given away as a gift. I'm going to do that now for the rest of them. So there's all the raspberries now potted up. I managed to get 8 in total, which is quite good. There are more out there if I want to dig them up and repot them, but it just shows you that you don't need to waste anything on an allotment. When these are planted in the ground, they'll be perfectly healthy, and they may not produce too many raspberries this year, but they will next year. I'm likely to get questions about what variety they are, and the honest answer is I really don't know. The raspberries that I got were given to me about 6 or 7 years ago from a previous allotment holder, and I've literally just kept growing them, and they've been reshooting and replanting, and I get 2 crops, usually in June, July, and then another one late on in September. So I think I've got a mixed variety of the summer and autumn raspberries. So I hope you found the video useful, and if you've got any techniques for how you might harvest your raspberries or any other fruit or veg that you can share with others, then please put it in the comments below. And don't forget, if you like the video, give it the thumbs up, and if you want to subscribe to the channel for future videos on how to sow and grow fruit and veg and a few recipe ideas, then please press the subscribe button. I'll see you all on the next video.